Powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios. It's Football at 4.
Football at 4. It is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It's brought to you by PropSwap, America's sports betting marketplace. Sell your sports bets, take your profit, find out how. PropSwap.com. Download the PropSwap app today. Adam Caplan's here. And he had a busy weekend. He had the Senior Bowl. He was down in Mobile. He came back. He's heading to where are you going, the Super Bowl? Is that where you're heading out there this week?
Yeah, tomorrow, Mike. Yeah, I'm headed to L.A. Then I have crazy. I have to go to Vegas on business. I have to get back. It's fun, though. You know what? I enjoy what I do. So, yeah, it's going to be traveling. You know, quite frankly, I hadn't been on a plane since, August for training camp. So it's good to be back. But as I told you, it was a little rainy in Mobile last week.
Well, I know a lot of people looking down there, and we'll talk a little bit about the senior week and what it meant and some of the things we saw. But let's start with some of the NFL news close to home. Number one, Doug Pederson hired as the Jaguars coach. Yeah. And obviously, very interesting scenario. We touched on a little bit Friday. Who are some of the guys he could be bringing to Jacksonville with him?
Yeah, Mike, here's what you're talking to various NFL sources. His number one target for OC would be Press Taylor. It's out there that they put in a request for Pep Hamilton, the quarterback coach last season for the Texans. The Texans, I'm told, absolutely want him back as their OC to work with Davis Mills and whoever they bring in at quarterback because they don't know who their starter is. He did a great job. Pep Hamilton is a terrific quarterback developer. That's really what he's known for. But Press Taylor is a guy that obviously Doug Pederson knows. It's part of why Doug's no longer the Eagles head coach. We'll see what happens. Andrew Briner, I'm told, who was with him as an offensive analyst for one season, who was an interim head coach for Fordham. He also was at FIU last season as an OC. He's worked with quarterbacks. Defensively, Mike Caldwell is his number one choice we're hearing for defensive coordinator. Mike is the inside linebackers coach for the Bucs. The two know each other from their days with the Eagles. Matt Burke could be his D-line coach. We will see what happens. Matt Burke was with Doug for at least one season. He's with the Jets now as a defensive assistant. Linebackers coach, I'm told, Bill Shuey. He's got a real good chance to get that. He was with Doug in Philly. Bill was with the Bears for the past 4 seasons as a defensive assistant. Tim Halk is a potential safeties coach. He was the safeties coach with the Eagles under Peterson for, I think, at least 4 years. So, yeah, what he's doing so far, and this is not his whole staff, and who knows if we'll get all these guys, but typically, Mike, coaches do this. They hire guys that they know. Now, when he was the Eagles head coach, most of the coaches he didn't hire. They were either retained from Chip Kelly's staff. They're all good, by the way. And some were recommended by Howie Roseman or other people who work for Doug. And Doug had to say okay or not, but the fact of the matter is he was not the guy that in most cases did not point out the guys that he didn't really hire these guys in Philly, whereas here he's got full control of his staff, and he's either going to live or die with the guys he hires. That's really going to be, to me, his downfall or progressing as a Jaguars head coach to turn them around to get him to have a winning program. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be on the staff that he hires.
And I know, over the years that we've had this segment with you, Adam, you've been critical of his staff, that the team was not coached up well enough. I guess one guy, I know he wasn't a Doug guy. He was hired by Chip, was Stoutland. Would Doug be able to get Stoutland to go down there in an upgraded role? Can they do that?
They'll never let him. He is one of the top 3, if I'm told, if not the highest paid O-line coach in the league. There's no way the Eagles let him go. None. I mean, if they have to make him assistant head coach, whatever they have to do to keep him. I mean, he's under contract anyway, so you can't go and they can block him. But even if, let's say, I don't know how many years left he has on his latest extension, but even if it passed over the next 2 years, they're not letting him go. He is so important. Probably, I underestimated Mike, to be honest with you, how important he is to their team. He's obviously a great coach. But it's not just coach of the offensive lineman, what he means to their run game design, what he means to their personnel staff because they trust him. He's probably one of the most trusted assistant coaches the Eagles have had in the last 30 years. I'll extend it that far. This guy's pretty special, extremely important to their success.
I only bring that up because I know Doug would know him, but Doug calls the plays. He could say, hey, you could be the offensive coordinator, and I call the plays. Are you allowed to take the jump if you're going from a line coach to coordinator?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, that's for a coordinator, they can't block him, but I think what would have to happen, because you have to put on, my understanding is when you put the slip in, you have to say exactly what the role is.
Right.
There's maybe some lines of text where you have to fill in, okay, this is what the guy's role will be. But I mean, if they get, whether it gets Press Taylor or Pep Hamilton, those guys aren't calling the plays. Doug already said he's calling the plays. So it would be an OC in name like Frank Reich was, but he will not be calling the plays. But again, the Eagles would do everything to keep him. They would not let him leave.
Real quick on the Doug, I mean, are you surprised? It seems that the Jacksonville fans are not thrilled with Peterson, and people are kind of like, what is wrong with you people? You're getting a guy who can stabilize this organization. How has that hiring been received?
It's actually the problem that the fans have, because apparently when I put all this coaching stuff out, they make fun of Trent Baalke. I've been noticing that the fans can't stand Trent Baalke, the general manager. What happened is they got wise to, they're aware of what had been out there. When he had clashes with Chip Kelly, they stopped talking, and Jim Harbaugh, they stopped talking before Harbaugh left the Niners, and obviously Kelly and Harbaugh and Baalke were fired around the same time. So that stuff's out there, and it didn't end well for Baalke. He had a tough time getting back, and then he became personnel director for 1 year, the GM last season after Dave Caldwell was fired and obviously Dave is here with Philly. But look, Doug, this is Doug's only chance to be a head coach this season. He interviewed others. This is the one the team they offered. And Shad Khan, by the way, the owner of the Jaguars, did say that they wanted to talk to Doug, but Doug did not want to coach last year. But let me tell you as an absolute fact, whether Doug would interview last year or not, Urban Meyer was getting the job. That was obviously a terrible mistake. He was fired before his first year was over. But Doug, they got their man this year. They got a guy they really like, and I'm pulling for him. Doug's a good coach, and we'll see what happens.
All right, John Gannon's not going to get the Texans job. He'll be back in Philadelphia as the defensive coordinator. He was told over the weekend that he will not be the Houston coach. So I guess Gannon is back here. What does that mean going forward?
Yeah, a couple things. Lovie Smith will be the Texas head coach. They're negotiating with him and his agent. I think his son might be his agent, at least he last was. But so this is important that the Eagles have this clarity now, because for free agency in the draft, it's hard to know what the plan would be for defense without Gannon being involved, or not knowing who their defense coordinator would be. But right now, Gannon's their coordinator. He's back. He'll be in their free agency meetings. He'll be in their draft meetings. They'll have a better idea of what he needs. Because clearly the talent defense was not good enough. He was very passive. I ran into some teams who played the Eagles. They were not complimentary on the Eagles defense. They said that they're too passive, and it's kind of what we'd heard from other teams when they play them or did advanced work. So you would expect to be more aggressive, get him better talent, and the defense should be better.
Coaching staff going to be intact? We haven't heard much there. I mean, we did get that question on the final day about the coaching report.
Jeff reported on a show that Mosher said that while there's been no changes, they're still reviewing it. So just keep an eye on that. What if there might be potential, maybe a couple changes, who knows? But that's what we've been hearing.
The one thing with Gannon that's interesting, obviously the fans couldn't stand him. They all wanted him to get hired. Is there anticipation? Because he was a popular hire last year.
I know.
And,
I know.
Is there anticipation that once he gets guys that are more fit for his scheme, that that the defense could be that much better, or was he just overmatched? Why is there so much, caution with him?
I don't think he was overmatched. I think he was too cautious, not aggressive, very passive, and part of it, it's impossible to put a percentage on it, but part of it clearly was he didn't have good enough personnel, and he could have done a better job. He started disguising more once he learned the players better, but this is not what anybody wants. They want a more aggressive defense. This is what they thought they were getting with Gannon. They didn't get it. Now the front office got to do a better job of getting more talent, but Gannon's got to do a better job, and getting him in these meetings is going to be important. I would say this: if let's say, Mike, and we'll talk more about this in our future segments, but let's say they bring in 2 to 3 players for the free agency who could start or could play a key role, and they have a very aggressive draft in terms of defense. Let's say they draft 5 players for him. this defense is significantly better than next year, then I don't know that he would return in year 3.
Well, that's another point I was going to bring up, Adam, is he's gone through the cycle. He's interviewed with 3 teams. If they have a good year, you would think he'd be back on the cycle as a circuit.
He would be, sure.
Right,
Look,
as
he's a highly thought of guy. Mike, he's a highly thought of guy, but look, the results are not good enough. Let's call it like it is. We're not saying the talent was good enough. It clearly was not. But he's got to do a better job. Not giving up points was good, but they also had an easy schedule. But the lack of turnovers forced, the lack of sacks, these things matter. And this has been told to us by other teams when they watch. They just saw a very passive defense for majority of the season.
Well, one of the guys that's supposed to help you get talent, they've lost now a second front office member, Brandon Brown, this time to a division rival, goes to the Giants. He's the new assistant GM. We saw Ann Cunningham go to Chicago. So now 2 personnel directors. Is this going to be a problem?
Yeah, this is something we talked about on today's Inside the Birds. The way we understand it is it definitely won't be a problem for the draft, save for one thing. We'll give you a little bit inside scouting note here. They're called like over the top or cross checkers for the draft. Well, they're down 2 key ones. Brandon Brown and Ian Cunningham are really good, good evaluators, and you don't have them. So what Howie Roseman and Andy Weidel, Howie's right-hand man, will have to do is they're going to have to delegate a little bit more in terms of cross-checking to make sure that they get these picks right. Basically what cross-checking means on each draft pick, each player that they would potentially draft gets several sets of eyes. Sometimes it could be 7 or 8. If it's a low-round draft pick, it might be only 1 or 2. But Devontae Smith, trust me, must have had 6 or 7 people turning grades for him. That's just the way it works in the NFL. So that's one area. But other than that, they'll be fine. I think long-term, they have to make a decision whether they promote from within, give certain people more responsibility. And now Dave Caldwell's on that staff who can get more responsibility. But Dave, I believe, lives in Jacksonville, so I don't know that he'd want to move to Philly. But that's what they can do. So it's something to keep an eye on over the next 4 to 5 months.
Now, Catherine Ritchie also interviewed for a job. Is she a potential? Will she get more responsibility? Do they have people in the organization that could be promotions? Do they go outside the building?
Yeah, Catherine Rach is more on the operations side, Mike. So she kind of filled in for Andrew Berry after Berry left. She took some of his responsibility. So I don't know that she'd get any more. It's more on the scouting side, to be honest with you, is where they're going to have to make some decisions.
All right. Also, people keep asking me about Hightower, and he got brought back to a reserve future contract here. He got no burn this year. Now, he was ahead of Watkins the year before and got nothing this year. So I guess this staff did not see Hightower the same way the previous staff did.
I'm very surprised, Mike, to be honest with you, they brought him back. Moshe and I or Jason Avant, who does our pregame show and the Q&A show, Jason worked with Hightower and told the truth about him. He said it more than once. He doesn't think he loves football.
Wow.
Now, I know the kid. I know Hightower could run well. He's decent size. He's a good route runner. He's very talented. But he dropped in the draft to the 5th round because of commitment to the game and so forth. And I remember when we had heard it and we actually reported it, then it wound up happening. Keyshawn Johnson, who they brought over from the Cardinals practice squad. Remember, they promoted Johnson over Hightower, which tells you would think they don't want Hightower back, but here you go. They're bringing him back. I don't understand this one. I know it's very minor, but why don't you just move on if you don't think the guy could help you? I mean, as you said, he didn't even play last season.
Not at all. I don't remember being active at all.
No, was not.
All right, Senior Bowl this past weekend. We talked Friday. You hear a lot of things leading up. Now the game happens. I don't know that the game is more important, but a lot of quarterbacks to discuss here. Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis, Sam Howell. They were the 3 guys that are potential first-round guys people, could see. How did they do with the finished product, those 3 guys there?
All right, so you know what? I want to talk about Desmond Ritter. I still think he goes 2nd or 3rd round. I mean, potentially as high as the 2nd. He's a gifted thrower. I thought he had a good week. I was talking to our friend Greg Cosell today. He likes his tape, and Greg kind of confirmed what I thought. I think he and I both believe he can go the 2nd. I understand there's just some accuracy issues. You watch his tape. Too many throws he missed, he should have hit. But the guy's got ability. He's good enough athletically. He's got good enough size, decent, not a great arm strength, good enough. Pickett is more of a finesse thrower, but a pro-style guy, very athletic, more ready to play than probably any of them. Now, you worry about the small hands. I know it's going to be a factor for some teams. Carson Strong had the strongest arm in Mobile this past week. Malik Willis probably a close second. Strong's got an issue with his right knee, which could be medically flagged for some teams. Sam Howell's a little bit farther down the line, second or third round pick. Good talent, scrambler. We'll see where he goes. We'll have more, Mike, on your show here the coming weeks, and also an Inside the Birds way in depth. And oh, by the way, we actually announced today, Trey Thomas will be back with us. He's going to do an offensive line series coming up soon this week. Actually, we're going to start. And then Greg Cosell will be back with us. We're doing free agency with him in a couple weeks, and then the draft. We'll do a draft show, so we'll go up breakdowns for us. And then Bailey Zappi is a kid from Western Kentucky who over 2 schools put up the most yards in college football, passing yards. He's a see-it, throw-it guy, anticipation guy too. Doesn't have a great arm. Didn't have a great senior ball game, but had a good week. He's probably going to be a third-round pick, more of a high-end backup, low-end starter type, but really a fun player we'll be talking more about. And then, you mentioned the game, Mike. There's some standouts.
Yeah.
And he had a great week. Christian Watson, receiver from North Dakota State, Carson Wentz's school, great week. Made a great catch, a 38-yard catch, I think, something like that in the game. And he just had a great week. His college numbers went out wild. He would probably go in the second round. For him to go in the first, he's got to run really well at the combine, but he had a great week. And a lot of personnel guys I talked to really liked him.
Obviously, the Eagles have 3 picks, and a lot of people are looking defense. So I know corner, linebacker. I think interior line is going to be a spot, too. Any of those guys stand out?
I would say, Trevor Penning was a tackle. He's 6'7", 6'6.5", 6'7", from Northern Iowa, who's a stud talent. He helped himself, solidified being a first-round pick. Corner, it's not what we're told. It's a average to below average corner draft, but Roger McCrary, corner from Auburn, was the best corner all week. He was great Tuesday, great Wednesday. I didn't get any intel yet back from the game, but he was very good. Kobe Bryant is a corner, spelled with a C, by the way, not with K. Corner from Cincinnati had a great week. And Travis Jones, you're going to hear more about him, a D tackle from UConn. Yeah, the Eagles, because Fletcher Cox could be traded before the draft, they don't have very good depth at D tackle. So, yeah, that's a good point, Mike. Travis Jones, he had a great week, very explosive, had some sacks, although you're not supposed to tackle the quarterback, but you could tell that they would be called sacks. Tight end, maybe the deepest position for the draft is tight end. It's legit 10 deep, 10 guys who could probably start the next level. Not that the Eagles need a tight end badly, but they need one more, definitely need one more. And I could see one being taken as high as the third round for the Eagles this year.
All right, Adam Caplan, Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com. Real quick, before we let you run, are you as surprised as many people seem to be that Lovie Smith has emerged as the new coach in Houston pretty much?
I would tell you a week ago, I thought Josh McCown was going to get it. I don't have a reason yet. I'm working on it to find out why Lovie got it. I do know this. Nick Caserio and Jack Easterby. Jack Easterby is the director of football operations. They developed a very good relationship with Lovie, particularly Caserio. And they also, I'm told, if McCown got the job, they want to bring Lovie back as his defensive coordinator. So they wanted Lovie back clearly, and they want Pep Hamilton back as their OC. And don't be surprised if Ben McDaniels, I'm told, he's, I think, maybe assistant receivers coach for the Texans, becomes Lovie's quarterback coach. So keep an eye on that.
Crazy development there. It was, because they had said that Gannon was not a candidate and it was going to be between McCown and Flores. And then all of a sudden, late last night, it was, oh, by the way, Lovie Smith is going to get this job.
Yeah, well, Lovie had interviewed before, but it became serious. And what we don't know, it has not been reported, what happened with McCown and what happened with Flores. We know about the lawsuits. He's not suing the Texans, but it's just really weird. I don't know. It's we'll see if any of the guys who cover the Texans have it, but it's fascinating.
All right, he's Adam Caplan at Caplan NFL. Get the latest edition of Inside the Birds podcast wherever you listen to your podcast, and we'll have more details on all the new shows, off-season stuff, draft specials, free agency, all right here on Football at 4. All right, Adam.
You got it, man.
Take care, bud.
Thank you.